This is what the collapsed bridge looks like in the daylight. The ship that hit the bridge crossed over the Patapsco River, a key waterway that serves as a major hub for transportation, for shipping in the East Coast. Traffic at the port of Baltimore has been suspended until further notice. The bridge itself spanned more than a mile and a half. Imagine that, and about 31,000 people use it every single day.
I want to now show you what it looks like this morning as the sun is now rising. Understand we are less than a quarter of a mile away from where this collapse happened here. You see that we still have law enforcement here blocking off the area, but when you look down, you can see pieces of the bridge now this morning. Understand that this is a bridge that was here since 1977, and now it is completely gone. 1.6 miles of this bridge gone. This is something that was so impactful for our community in Baltimore area. Understand 31,000 vehicles will travel on this daily according to MDTA, and now this is no longer an option. Keep in mind, this means that the 695 loop that so many would use is completely gone now. We understand that a lot of trucks would use this area, especially since they could not go through the tunnels, especially if they had hazardous material that they need to transport, and now that is no longer an option. Police are still advising people to please not be in this area. They are deterring you. Go through 895, 95 instead. 695 is no longer available. It's something we never thought we would ever have to say, where Francis Scott Key Bridge is completely gone.
What you're looking at now, if you're watching us, what you are looking at are all this.
I can imagine what the adjustment is about to be as far as routes go. I know that might have flown by people's ears when she said, you know, hazmat can't use this. A lot of times, just like in Atlanta, I use Atlanta for reference. When you would drive hazardous material around, they often tell you instead of using 75 and 85, they make you go around the loop with that, with the 285. You know what I mean? Trying to keep you away from majority of the cars that are on 85 and 75 and making you take the loop and stuff like that. And away from a lot of the houses and main areas that go down that main interstate. So they make you take those loops. Now you're going to have they are forced to use the main access highways and interstates. And this is a lot bigger as it's now starting to settle in what's going on and the adjustments that have to be made. This is wow. Ooh.
Ships that are stacked up. They're now going to have to turn around and find another port to go to. And that is going to really create a backlog wherever they end up going to. Yes. In Norfolk, it's not the entire terminal. It's not the entire port that is closed in Norfolk, but it's the cruise ship terminal that's under reconstruction and repairs, and that is why cruise ships will not be able to go to Norfolk. I'm imagining a number of these cargo ships will, but then the cargo that they're expecting to pick up, it's sitting in Baltimore. So this is an enormous problem.
And I can only imagine those cargo ships that are just waiting, I mean, really planning on turning around. I mean, this is the image that they're seeing. You know, we're getting this view right now, but that's what they're seeing right now.
Coming up very soon. Hey, right now, I got a lemon stand for you. Empty spaces on it.
Look like something out of one of those like zombie apocalypse or end of the world type movies or some type of, you know, what was that last one that came out on Netflix, Leave the World Behind or something like that? Coast Guard boats.
CBS News Philadelphia reporter Ryan Hughes is at the scene in Baltimore. Ryan, what information do we know about the collapse itself? Not only how it could have happened, but perhaps how it could have been prevented?
Was able to make a mayday call that prompted officials up top to stop traffic on the bridge.
Well, the NTSB is about to brief everyone in about 30 minutes or so. A team is on the ground now investigating exactly how this crash happened. And just over my shoulder, that scene is so harrowing. Part of that bridge in the road just completely broke apart. Right now, there is an active search and rescue operation. Dive teams remain in the water, actively searching for survivors. They are using drones. They are using sonar and other technology. We just heard from Maryland's Governor Wes Moore a short time ago. He says the entire state of Maryland is in shock right now. He says that at last check, there are still at least 6 people that are unaccounted for. All of them believed to be part of a construction crew that was on the bridge at the time of this crash. We were told they were doing pothole repair when the bridge went into the river. Right now, 2 people have been rescued. One was rushed to the hospital in very serious condition. Another survivor was taken out of the water, and we are told that he refused treatment and is said to be doing okay, which is just remarkable. But this is a work around the clock, all hands on deck effort. You have members of the Anne Arundel County Fire Department, Baltimore County Fire Department, and surrounding agencies all pitching in, actively working to search for those survivors. And again, this happened during a time when it was quite chilly in Baltimore, some 40 degrees earlier this morning. That water is also very cold. Dive teams, they had to wait until the sun came up to get into the water. Right now, the Baltimore Harbor, it remains closed. Questions were asked, when will that reopen? What are the impacts going to be? And the governor says that's not the main priority. Right now, the main priority is searching for those survivors and keeping everyone involved and their families in mind. As to what caused this, right now we are being told there was that container ship that issued a mayday call before crashing into the column. They issued that call knowing hitting the bridge was a possibility. And once they did, neighbors in the area, witnesses who saw this, report that they saw some type of an explosion, and then literally their jaws dropped to the ground when they saw that bridge just drop into the river. Vehicles, we are told, were crossing the span at the time. They dropped into the water, and now again there is an active search and rescue effort searching for at least 6 people that remain unaccounted for.
CBS News correspondent Ramy Inocencio is in Baltimore right now. Ramy, let's talk about the atmosphere right now in Baltimore. Of course, the main concern authorities are saying is in rescuing those 7 people who remain missing. But just looking at the bridge and just looking at the map, this is an area that I imagine is going to require a huge shift in people's everyday commute.
Yes, absolutely, Olivia. The Francis Scott Key Bridge has been an iconic fixture of Baltimore for nearly the past 50 years. There's shock, there's disbelief that this bridge now is basically just gone. I've been speaking to some Baltimore residents, and they said that it was a gut punch to something that they've known every single day of their lives. As we heard from the governor just now, people drive this bridge as a normal part of life. Another resident said that they thought it was a majestic bridge that they appreciate as they drive over it, something that they can see the surrounding wilderness. that they can appreciate the surrounding waters and the port of Baltimore with it just nearby. But now the fact that this doesn't exist and the idea that this may not be replaced in the near future. It took about 5 years for the first bridge to be decommissioned and then also to be finally built. If it takes that long, it will have massive repercussions on a day-to-day level, as you just talked about, but also economically for the port of Baltimore as well as for the country and really for ships going around the world.
Yeah, I imagine that there is so much that goes through there. Now, one thing that we learned from authorities is that there was a mayday call from the ship that was made before it struck the bridge. I imagine that must have saved a lot of lives. Unfortunately, this happened at 1:30 a.m., not during rush hour. But what else do we know about what happened before the collapse?
Sure. So from what we have been told, the Dali cargo vessel left the port of Baltimore, and shortly thereafter, it was only into a few minutes into its journey, it radioed the Port of Baltimore and said that there was some kind of problem, some kind of malfunction, and they had been starting to lose power. And we even see in the live cam footage from that time, just around 1:30 a.m. in the morning, that they started to lose power. The power went out, power went back on, power went out again. And then at some point, you see this big fluff, this big cloud of black smoke. That is indicative that they tried to steer the vessel somehow to hopefully make it avoid the bridge. We now know that didn't happen, and shortly thereafter we saw that massive shock from that explosion, concrete coming off of the pylon, water splashing off of the ship, and then now we know that the Francis Scott Key Bridge no longer exists.
My God. CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Scanga joins us now. She is in Baltimore, of course. Nicole, you interviewed the mayor earlier today.
Listening to what she said about the whole Mayday call, that's one thing I was wondering when I first saw it this morning. I was like, well, were they able to get authorities there before the bridge collapsed to kind of barricade it, if they could, to get people off of the bridge and stop them from driving onto the bridge? But apparently they were unsuccessful or something. You know what I mean? I had so many questions because I'm like, whoa, a Mayday call. If they were able to successfully receive the Mayday call, then maybe they could have dispatched officers there to shut down the road leading up to the bridge and save a lot of lives. So we still don't even know. I still don't know if that even happened or took place.
What did he tell you?
Yeah, the mayor told me that right now the priority is rescue and recovery, and his thoughts and prayers, his heart is really going out to these 6 unaccounted for individuals who, law enforcement, rescue teams, U.S. Coast Guard has yet to identify and find. They are all construction workers, we're told. Take a listen to what the mayor had to say.
There are still 6 lives that law enforcement is searching for. What more can you tell us about who is still lost?
Well, we know that they're all workers from who are working on this bridge, trying to make other people's transit better. And our prayers are with them and their families, but also for our first responders who are we're looking for them right now and risking their own lives and not the best conditions. And that's where our focus is, and that's where it will remain until this is no longer a search and rescue.
And obviously the Port of Baltimore, the 9th busiest port, a lot of commerce, a lot of traffic coming in and out. Also the road behind me and the bridge itself, a very important corridor here on the Beltway, a critical infrastructure junction along the I-95 corridor. The mayor saying none of that matters until these rescue and recovery efforts are completed. And law enforcement says that they're in this sort of crucial 8 to 12 hours where they are sifting through debris, not only the ship, but of course the motor vehicles that we know dropped into the ocean when this collision occurred roughly at 1:30 a.m. this morning.
Nicole, of course there are a million questions, but what are those main questions, the primary ones that the investigation that's underway is focusing on to answer at this very moment?
Yeah, I think the number one question is, who are these unaccounted for individuals? Were they given any warning, any shot when that Mayday call went out in order to... It
don't sound like it if they were still sitting there working. Like, what happened to getting them, somebody on scene real quick to try to save them and get them off the bridge? there should be some type of communication. And it's easy to say this in hindsight now after this has all happened, but I'm pretty sure as reports start to come out after, because life is the most important thing right now. So once they find life and wrap that part of it up, when they start to look and dive into what actually happened from the ship's vantage point, from the communication, having any line of communication to people who are doing work on the bridge, like it's a lot of things that's going to come from this.
Evacuate the bridge here. I think there are also some questions regarding the timeline. You know, we know that the boat left the harbor at 1 a.m. and that this collision happened at approximately 1:30 a.m. Questions about were there still tugboats nearby and what actually stopped the propelling from the motor of the boat from functioning properly. We know that Mayday call went out, you know, once the propulsion on the boat, there was some sort of malfunction, the power perhaps went out, and so more details around what caused that, you know, and we expect to hear more from law enforcement in the coming hours. NTSB expected to give a presser here in just an hour, so we'll keep all of our viewers posted.
Absolutely. We'll definitely go to that press conference when it happens. Nicole Skanga, thank you so much.
We want to continue our coverage. We understand Kelsey Kushner is standing by. Kelsey.
Yeah, well, right now we are waiting for that press update from NTSB. You know, they keep pushing that time back. It was going to be noon. Now I'm told it's around 2:30 that we can expect an update. Of course, that's not very welcoming news for people who are sitting here waiting for answers. It's a race against time right now, really, you know, with families who are waiting to kind of find out, you know, what the latest into this investigation is, where their family members may be. But I'm standing here in Dundalk. You can see part of that bridge behind me here. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on it so you can see what it looks like right now. We know that a lot of cars were kind of halted from driving over that bridge in the early morning hours tonight, of course, which Governor Wes Moore said was heroic efforts among crews who responded quickly. You know, I was out here earlier before we got to the scene. We talked to some truck drivers who are parked over at a gas station, a nearby gas station right now. I kind of asked them, you know, how this affects them and their job, to which they told me they're waiting to kind of find out now what their next moves are. They're waiting for instruction. You know, this wasn't the only route that they could take, but they do know that this now adds some time to their commute, and they're waiting to kind of figure out their next direction here. Just a few moments ago, we did see some crew members bring out some additional spotlights, and I can only imagine that those lights are now preparing crews for their, you know, search and rescue into the evening hours. So preparing to be out here in case the sun, you know, starts to set tonight, and they're still out here looking for some of those family members. But again, like I said, it is a race against time right now. A lot of people out here waiting for an update, waiting for some answers. It is reassuring that there are so many agencies that are out here, but again, a lot of people who are sitting here glued to the TV want to know, you know, where exactly are we at in this investigation? We know 6 people still missing. We want to know, you know, are we finding them? Like, where are we at right now with this investigation? So again, we're standing out here waiting for that press update. Again, it's expected to happen around 2:30 today, and of course we will let you know if that time does get pushed back again.